Hey Karen,
Hi. Oh my gosh.
how's everything going? How's summer been?
Yeah. It's been an interesting time. Yeah, I've been trying to keep busy and stuff, but yeah. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty much same here. I'm just trying to be outside as much as possible. I
Yeah,
figure we've been
definitely.
like cooped up inside since like March, so I figured get outside and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, same old though, just kind of waiting to figure out what the heck is gonna happen in September.
Yeah,
um,
that's so true. Oh
yeah.
man, thank you so much for agreeing to an interview, by the way. It's like
Oh,
so
yeah.
helpful to us. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Did you guys just start the organization like now over the summer, or did you guys
Yeah,
start
pretty
last school
much.
year? That's awesome.
So we kind of started in around like July, during that period, and yeah, especially since we have a lot of free time on our hands, we kind of wanted to do like a good initiative in a way. Yeah.
That's awesome. So is it you and a bunch of um, girls in your grade, or is it like from all grades?
It's mostly so it's right now it's like a pretty like small kind of situation. So we have like five
Oh,
kids doing it, and like a couple of us are sophomores and a couple of us are seniors. So
oh,
it's like relatively split. So it's really nice. Yeah.
it's good to have that split because then you can like reach more people and everything too. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly. If it was just like one grade, it would be kind of concentrated in like one specific area, which wouldn't be as good. Yeah.
I gotcha. That's awesome.
Thank you so much, by the way. Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no problem at all.
I guess we can get started with answering some of the questions then, I guess.
Yeah, whatever works
Um,
best.
okay, sure. So, so why do you believe it's so important for young women to understand the importance of like leadership and like initiating conversations and such?
I think it's important because there's a lot of skills and things that can be gained from taking on a leadership role or taking initiative. Like, I think people don't really, especially young women, like, I think they don't think that a leadership role is attainable for them, or I think they're kind of taught to, just kind of save those positions for someone else and like to not really take the initiative. But I think there's so
Mhm.
much you can gain from doing so. Like, even just like public speaking skills, gaining confidence, and not even just like individual skills, but you can learn a lot about collaboration. Usually, like
Mhm.
leadership roles aren't something that's done alone. Like, if you think of any club or organization, there's usually like a president, a vice president, a treasurer, a secretary. So, like, you learn how to collaborate with other people and like use your own voice alongside others. I think it's important too, like, you learn a lot about like delegating tasks to other people. So you learn
Yeah.
like organizational skills, and you learn how to, still take charge and still get your ideas out there, but not overwhelm yourself. Like, you learn a lot about balance.
Oh
So I
yeah.
just think there's like, I don't know, I just feel like there's so much you can learn from like taking a leadership role and taking initiative. So I think trying to get rid of that idea that like it's unattainable is very
Yeah.
important, because there's so much you can gain once you like break that barrier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's so true. It's just like kind of just opening that door. It just has such a wealth of like different things that you can do and different things that you can like learn and like implement into your life. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
When you were growing up, did you have any like female leaders that you really looked up to or really tried to emulate and such?
So one person that I had like thought of when I was like first thinking about this question, I know she's not a leader in the traditional sense, but I think about Demi Lovato a lot.
Mhm.
I just find her to be really inspiring and someone that a lot of females should look to, because I just love the fact that she is so genuine and forward about everything she's going through. Like, she's like one of those people that just embraces like the good, bad, and the ugly. She just tells you how it is. And, she doesn't just tell you like, oh, this stinks, but you're going to get through it. Like, she shows like, I did get through it, and like, I'm so confident, I'm like thriving. So I don't know, I mean, I guess she's not like the typical leader you would picture. Like, it's not someone who's necessarily like political or a world leader, but
Mhm.
I just think she's really someone that like I personally liked to look to. Like, I just think, I don't know, I think girls are kind of shamed a lot for like having emotions and being too emotional and all that. But like,
Mhm.
she doesn't hide any of that baggage. She just shows that like I can still be independent and awesome despite the fact that I had all of this that I had to work through. So
Yeah, exactly. I think like her realness kind of just captures like that human aspect of it because I also think a lot of the world leaders or like the political leaders and stuff, they kind of have we kind of put them on a pedestal sometimes and it just seems that oh, they're just this like kind of like godly figure, but then Demi Lovato, she's like very relatable kind of and like down to earth. And while she does have so many successes that I guess to us it might seem a little bit like a big deal and such, she still just shows the whole step like all her steps of her journey and like it's something that we
mhm.
can all relate to as well. Yeah, yeah, she's like a really I really like her. She's like unconventional, but she kind of just really brings some of that like freshness and you kind of just so surprised by her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a breath of fresh air almost. Like it's not I'm sure she faces like a ton of pressure, like being as famous as
Yeah,
she is, but like I just feel like you wouldn't even know, like based off like her posts, her music, and like even like
exactly.
her documentary and stuff. Like it's all just very authentic, which is like I feel like what you need sometimes because I feel like it kind of helps with some of the other issues that young women face in terms of
Mhm.
like thinking I have to be this picture perfect person. Like Demi
Yeah,
Lovato's like, no, you don't. Just like do it. Like
yeah,
just be you. So
exactly.
it's cool.
Yeah. So when you were a girl as well, have you like what kind of challenges did you face and what did you do to like grow from it and learn from it as well?
I think the biggest thing for me, I thought a lot about how, like, a lot of my childhood, I did theater. I pretty much would do at least like 4 shows a year. Like, I never played a sport.
Wow.
I was very like arts heavy. And I
Mhm.
feel like those activities, like art, doing anything like art related, theater, singing, at least from my experience, it was always very girl heavy. Like, it was always females against females and like this sense of like competitiveness of like, oh, who has the look? Who can do this? And like,
Mhm.
I feel like that's pretty common even in the larger like scheme of things, like if you think about like social media and like the sense of like comparison and things like that.
Mhm.
So I do think that sense of comparison and like that feeling of like I'm not as good as her and like I'm not going to get what I want out of this experience because I can't do what she can do. I
Mhm.
think that's kind of what I struggled with the most. Like it would
Yeah.
kind of be like that confidence and like feeling always like I'm competing with another girl for something else. um how would I say I like grew from it? One thing that I tried to do, and like I don't really think I got too good at this until college, probably. I feel like
Mhm.
college is kind of the place where like I first started taking leadership roles and like I really tried to start thinking about what I'm capable of is like I don't know. The way I would sum it up is like find one thing that you're good at, like something that you know you're awesome at. Like really just like embrace it. Like it could even be like the smallest, like silliest thing, but it's like, figuring out like what makes you unique and like not having any shame in it. Like that's really kind of what I try to use and like go off of. Like for me, my thing is like so silly, but like what I think of is like I am an insanely organized person. Like I know that. And like I love calendars and planners and I color code everything. And I just love like, I don't know. It's, that's a skill that I really capitalize on. Like I'm like, oh, it's kind of like a creative and fun skill, but then I can also use it to say like, hey, I'd be really good at this job because I'm extremely organized and I can organize whatever you need me to. So like
Yeah.
it's just honing in on that one thing I think is like a good way to grow. Like if you're ever feeling kind of insecure or comparing, like
Mhm.
kind of flip it and think about okay, what's the one thing I have that they don't, and not in a sense of like putting them down, but really just kind of help you like find that one thing, find your thing, because everyone has it. It's just a matter of figuring out like what that is and kind of owning it.
Yeah, that's so true. It's kind of just like I feel like that can really become like a source of confidence and just
Mhm.
like something that you can always like kind of just like tap into in a way. It's just like I know I may not be the best at something else, but I know I'm like good at this. So I'm not unworthy of anything in a way. Yeah.
Exactly. And it can even just be one of those like like mine, like I was saying, like organization, like writing things down in a planner. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it can really be like the most basic thing. Like I'm good at helping others or I'm good
Yeah,
at,
exactly.
listening to others. Like it can just be one of those smaller skills because those go a really long way.
Yeah, so that's so true. So in your opinion, what do you think is like the root cause of the confidence gap between like men and women and or like boys and girls in school as well? And how do you think we're going to be able to kind of overcome this or like just kind of level the playing field in a way?
So it's one of those things where I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna sound like a broken record or like something that you've probably heard before. I feel like and it's gonna sound so silly, especially as like a history teacher, but I feel like it's one of those things that's like so ingrained in us because of history. Like even I remember in high school history classes, like I remember learning about the whole idea of like the domestic sphere, like, women
Hmm.
work at home, women stay at home, they're the stay at home mom. I feel like that idea is like taught to us through so many platforms, like even on like TV and stuff and like older movies and things like that, you have the typical stay at home mom figure. So I feel like that kind of starts a lot of it. Like
Yeah.
it kind of puts up a roadblock again of like women thinking like I can't really surpass that. So like, it is what it is. I'm just gonna kind of
Yeah.
stick here and do what like I'm supposed to be good at, which like some women aren't even like the best at those things. It's like some women aren't the best cooks, so like that's okay. Like they don't have to be.
Hmm.
Um, so I think kind of pushing beyond those limits, and the idea of how we might be able to combat it. I was trying to think of it like when I was first thinking about this question. I'm pretty sure there was like a diaper company or like some sort of like personal like care company that tried to kind of flip the narrative, and I really liked it. Like it was the idea of them showing and like hyping up like a stay-at-home dad rather than like a
Hmm.
stay-at-home mom. And
Yeah.
like it is like stay-at-home dads exist. Like we know they're out there. I just don't think we see them enough. So I think it's kind of like bigger companies and even just like anyone can do it. Like even I don't know, say I was teaching like something about like the domestic sphere. Like I could always say like, now today like we could talk about how those roles have changed and how those expectations are a lot less rigid. Because I think we have the conversation a lot about gender roles, about how rigid they are and how they were like that, but I don't think we do enough talking about now how they're more flexible.
Exactly. I think like just as you've mentioned, like in TVs and like in the media especially, like if we acknowledge like the kind of the double-edged sword in a way, just like yes, we have stay-at-home moms, but here's a show about like a family with the stay-at-home dad centered at it instead. I think that
Mhm.
can really change like their perception of what we can do about certain things and kind of just like where the position of a certain group of people are at, which is yeah, someone came in, sorry.
Oh,
Um,
very good.
yeah, so I think that's like a really important conversation to have. It's just that in the media and such, just like we need to make sure that we're talking about both sides of the story, I guess, and just
Mhm.
like not discriminating against a certain segment. Yeah. Um, so what struggles do you see kind of your female students struggling with, and what do you think are some ways that we can encourage or help these girls?
So female students, I'm thinking, like obviously around your age. So I'm thinking a lot of what I see is like a lot of second guessing, just in general, whether it's about like appearance, whether it's about like, having an issue with like a friend, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of always this sense of like doubt and like, never really being firm in like, just what they think or like what they're believing. And like, it's not really like, honestly, I don't see that issue in terms of like academics. Like, I think I've noticed like a lot of girls like are proud of what they do in school, and I feel like they know like I'm rocking this, like I'm doing well. Like I didn't really see a lot of confidence issues there. For me, it was more like the social aspect is really where I kind of saw like the struggles or issues with like the second guessing. Um some ways to kind of help or encourage is like it's hard to say because I feel like that is something that comes with time. Like it's one of those things where high school is such a crazy, crazy time. Like I feel like you're constantly around others. It kind of leaves a lot of room for that like opportunity for comparison and like, oh, am I doing as much as they are? Am I as good as her at this? Like it leaves a lot of room for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it just kind of comes back to being open about our own experiences and like talking more about the fact that like it does get better and that it does get easier and that you'll eventually figure out like kind of your niche, like the thing I was talking to you about before, like you kind of figure out what you're good at and like you kind of find your confidence in that. So I think it's like adults and older women kind of being more forward and talking to younger females about like, this is what works for me, and like this
Mhm.
is what I do to find some confidence. So I think it's just kind of opening up communication more and being honest about like, yeah, these issues are there and that maybe we are second guessing ourselves a little bit,
Mhm.
and kind of like bond in the sense of like, yeah, I get it, I was there before too, and this is what I
Yeah.
did to like overcome.
I think like with also the really important narrative of like just like the leaders we were talking about before of like Demi Lovato and like people who are really open about how like the struggles they've had or like the struggles that they continue to overcome, just like being able to relate to that or just being
Mm-hmm.
exposed to the like frequency of that also really helps with like I think like the room of comparison and all of the just like a constant of like me versus them, like who's coming out stronger, who's coming out better, like that happens like constantly. And I
Mm-hmm.
think just like seeing other people just confront that and just be open about like talking about that is such like an important stepping stone, I guess, in a way for just like kids my age and girls my age to be like, okay, it does get better. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like especially in high school, at least from like my own experience, it's so easy to feel like you're so alone in those feelings. Like
Mhm.
you feel like everyone else is so confident. It's just me that like is
Yeah,
second
exactly.
guessing. Like you see other people and you're like, "Oh, they got it. Like they're confident. They know that they're great at this." They like but everyone has their thing where they kind of doubt themselves. Like even
Mhm.
guys, but like I know for females it's particularly difficult because of the kind of question you asked me earlier. Like there's already the gap between men and women. So like not to say that like females have it worse. There's totally guys who have like issues and struggle with confidence in their own right. But I don't know. I don't know if that makes
Yeah,
sense. I
it's
just
kind of
went off
like
on a whole other thing, but
like the society kind of expectation for that.
hmm
And then it kind of that kind of just like proceeds into the narrative of already saying that, oh, you can't do everything that you want, or you have to be relegated to kind of like a certain like extent. And then that kind of just continues to like become this huge massive ball of just like kind of like comparing like insecurities and like being unable to kind of just like grow out of the certain box that we're already set in.
hmm
So yeah, it's kind of like a big merge, like big just a big mess of like everything just configuring together, which is really, really sad. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard. It's just like I think the biggest thing, like the what ways we can help. It kind of goes both ways. Like
Mhm.
it's hard for younger women. The way that you can help is like don't be afraid to talk about it, but that's easier said
Mhm.
than done. So in that sense, I think that's where like the older women come in and like they have to kind of pull it out of you a little bit more.
Yeah, and kind of like initiate the conversation, I think, because it's like, I think the first perception of like, oh, it's just I only have these problems, like until you realize that other people have had these problems or like the people around you are constantly struggling with this, I feel like a large part of it's just like you feel like it's just in your head and it's
Mm-hmm.
just to you especially.
Yep.
So it's like really hard to just kind of realize that, oh, everyone is struggling with the very similar issues. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you realize your passion for like learning, reading, and like eventually like teaching? And what would you tell girls about realizing their own passions and continuing to pursue these kind of ideals?
So what I thought about this question, I don't have the exact quote right, but like, or it's this quote or this idea that like, it's not about what someone does, it's more about like how they make you feel. Like, have you heard that idea before?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah. So for me, in terms of like, especially teaching, this is like kind of where that comes in. Like,
Mhm.
when I was in high school, probably around like my sophomore year, was like, I just knew I wanted to be a teacher because like, almost every single teacher I had made me feel cared for, valued,
Mhm.
capable, and like I just kind of wanted to be able to pass that feeling on to others. And like
Mhm.
my biggest thing for girls like realizing their passions, it's you find the thing that you're good at, like, and that you feel good doing. Like, so it's not just like I'm good at this skill wise, but like I feel good doing it and like it makes me feel like I have a purpose. Like,
Mhm.
so for me, it's different things like learning, reading, teaching. Like those all make me feel like I have a purpose. Like I know I'm going to do something with that information. I know I'm going to share it with someone else, maybe help them make a connection. So like don't just do what you're expected to do. Like even outside of like beyond girls, like I know some people feel a lot of pressure like, oh, everyone in my family's a doctor, so I have to become a
Mhm,
doctor.
mhm,
Like, if you don't, it would be hard not to feel good being a doctor, like feeling good and having a purpose. But if that's something that like you don't feel like your skill set is like 100% perfect at, or you don't feel like you're the best at it, then like don't push yourself to do it. Like if
mhm.
you would rather be a painter because you feel really great about that and you feel like your purpose is like sharing your art and inspiring others, then like do that.
Mhm.
So like for me, it's a lot about how you feel while you're doing whatever you're passionate about. Like if you feel good doing it and you feel like it's benefiting like people beyond yourself, then it's worth doing.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that really makes a lot of sense because I think, like, especially in today's time, it's just kind of there's so many different factors in choosing your career and choosing where you want to go, kind of. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I think, like, something so fundamental, like you said, is just the common ideal. Like, I want to do this, I want to actively do this because I feel good doing it. And it's just like, I feel that what I'm doing is right and such. And I think that's such an important message as well, and it's just really important to, like, continue to realize that too, yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't feel good about what you're doing and like if you don't feel like it's like the right fit for you, then you're not going to enjoy it. And then if you don't
Mhm.
enjoy what you're doing, it's like you start to like dread it and you can even almost start to like resent it. So it's just not worth like don't push yourself to do something that you don't view as like worthwhile. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then it just becomes, like, a huge snowball again of, like, just, like, being stuck in a cycle of, "Oh, I don't wanna do this, but I feel like I have to," and then
Mhm.
that feeling is just not a sustainable, like, or a good feeling either.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I kind of realized the last question was very similar to the ones before, kind of.
Oh, that's
It's like,
okay.
what would you tell girls who are trying to pursue their dream, or like ideal career? And I think, yeah, just I think we mostly kind of talked about it and just like answered it, just like finding kind of what makes you feel good
Hmm.
and just like continuing with that. Yeah.
Exactly. I think kind of like the overall message would be like exactly find something that you feel good about doing and then also find like what makes you unique and like stand out because I think that really helps a lot like with the confidence gaps that we were talking about. Like I was saying it could be the smallest thing, but just
Mhm.
know that you're good at it and know that like that's always kind of your fallback. Like that's always a skill you're going to have. That's always something that you're going to be good at. Even if other people are good at it, it's like I'm good at that too.
Yeah, and it's just like that really just you tap into that and you're all good basically, yeah.
Exactly. Find what makes you comfortable, find what makes you feel good, find what makes you happy.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's like it's so hard because there's so many things to think about and choose from. But I think kind of once you find it, and like
Mhm.
you'll feel good about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering all of these questions, by
Yeah.
the way. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Not a problem at all.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for answering and just like giving me so much advice and for helping our organization too.
Of course.
Yeah.
If you guys ever need help with anything else, like please feel free to shoot me an email. I got back to you super
Yeah,
fast for
yeah,
being summer.
exactly. Oh,
So I'm still on my email like every day. I
that's
really like
good.
don't
Yeah.
take a break, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So anything you need over the summer, even if you just want to talk because things have been a little bit boring.
It's a wild time. Yeah.
Yeah. So anytime, seriously.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
Have a good summer, okay?
Thank you. Yeah. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.